What's up booktube? Welcome back. My name is Laura if you're new here, and today we're talking about some new book releases for September. A little bit early, but quite honestly I've been in a bit of a filming slump recently. I just haven't been in the mood to film. I have like no motivation, no ideas really, so this is something that I can do that's like relatively easy to do. So hopefully this will get me out of my filming slump and I'll actually start thinking of some ideas of like other things to film again soon. But for right now we're doing this like a week and a half early, but whatever, it's fine. So for September, we finally have a lot more books coming out. In the last few months over the summer, there were only like 4 or 5 books to talk about each month. Today though, I have 11 and I think 7 of them are all coming out on the same day. So this one's going to be a bit of a longer video, so that's always good, but we've got lots of things to talk about, so let's get right into it. Starting with Among Thieves by MJ Kuhn, coming out on September 7th. This one sounds like so much fun. This one is a debut fantasy and it is a heist novel, so of course it's being compared to Six of Crows. I did DNF's Six of Crows, so hopefully this one will go better for me. But this one is about a girl named Ryka who is known for being the quickest sword in this dockside town as well as the quickest tongue. So she's a very feisty kind of character, which I really enjoy. She is in hiding. She's been on the run for years from somebody called the Guildmaster. She's been running from him for years, but no matter how far she goes, his servants keep finding her and she keeps having to run. She is sick of it and she wants to be rid of him for good, so she teams up with this ragtag group of people who are similar to her and they make a plan to take him down. I love a ragtag group of people getting together for a common goal and becoming a found family, so I'm hoping that this is where it goes. According to the synopsis, all the characters that she teamed up with, they also have their own motivations, so there might be some like backstabbing and betrayal, which I'm always here for, but I'm really hoping it'll be a like found family kind of thing as well, where they all just grow to love each other and just like trust each other so much. I love that kind of thing, so hopefully that will be the direction that this one goes in. It sounds fantastic. I think I'm going to love the main character. She kind of reminds me of Lila from the Trade of Magic series, so hopefully I will end up loving her just as much as I love Lila. So yeah, I can't wait for this one to come out. Also on September 7th is A Clash of Steel by C.B. Lee. This is an Asian sapphic remix of Treasure Island, and just by that alone, I am already hooked. Like, I need this so badly. We are actually getting some gay pirates here and I'm so excited for it. So this one is about a young girl whose father died at sea before she was born, and her only token of him is this gold pendant that she wears every day. But one day some random stranger comes up to her and steals her and promises to give it back only if she will help her decode the map that's hidden inside of the pendant that she had no idea was there. And so the two of them set off on the seas to find whatever this map brings them, and it just sounds so wonderful. Like that's really all that I know about it, and that's all that I want to know about it. I want to go into this one more or less blind. And C.B. Lee is the author of the Not Your Sidekick series, which I've read the first book of so far and I really enjoyed it, so I'm just very much down for anything else that this author writes and I cannot wait for this one. Also the cover is gorgeous too, like wow. On September 14th, we have White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a YA psychological thriller that's being called a mix between The Haunting of Hill House and Get Out, which already sounds amazing. It sounds like a pretty typical like haunted house kind of story, but apparently there is a bit more to it because the town also has some kind of secret as well that the main character is trying to figure out. She and her family have just moved to this house. I think it's in the Midwest and they're coming from California after her mother got a new job, and her job came with a free house, so they packed up their stuff and moved here, and things are of course going to go very wrong once they move in. Things are disappearing from the house. The main character is also smelling something coming from the vents that nobody else can smell. This sounds like it's going to be the perfect book to kick off spooky season. I love me a good haunted house story, and this one sounds like it's gonna have some good twists and turns in there that I won't see coming. September 21st brings us a book that I am so unbelievably excited for. That would of course being Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, the author of The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is one of my favorite books of all time. It was amazing, and this one I am just beyond excited for. I'm sure many of us are. I don't actually know too much about the plot of it because I don't need to know the plot to know that I'm going to love this book because it's T.J. Klune, so of course I will not be disappointed by it. But from the synopsis that I just kind of skimmed right a little bit, I think it has to do with a man who is taken by essentially the Grim Reaper from his own funeral, and he's brought to this tea shop where the guy who runs the tea shop is also the ferryman for souls to cross over. But he really doesn't want to go to the afterlife. He's not ready to stop living yet, and so he is given a deal where he can have 1 week to kind of live out whatever he wanted to do and tie up loose ends and all those things, and then he'll have to cross over. So he and the tea shop owner kind of team up and help him to live his 1 week of life, and there's going to be some kind of romance involved. I'm not really sure how it's going to work from that, but it just sounds delightful, and like the cover I'm in love with. I will read anything that TJ Klune puts out from now on, so like I don't really care what it's about. I'm just so excited for it. And now for the rest of the books from here on out, they are all coming out on September 28th. Then there are quite a few of them. The first one being Light from Uncommon Stars by Ryan Aoki, which is described as Good Omens meets The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which already sounds wonderful. I haven't seen Good Omens, but I have heard many good things about it. And it says it's a defiantly joyful adventure set in California's San Gabriel Valley with cursed violins, Faustian bargains, and queer alien courtship over fresh-made donuts. That just sounds so delightful. It just sounds adorable and really sweet. I don't know much else about it aside from that, but like really all I needed was that first sentence in the synopsis and I was already hooked. I think the like basic plot is that there is a woman who made a deal with the devil, and in payment for her soul she has to give up the souls of 7 really talented violin players. I'm not sure why a violin player is the thing here, but it is. And she's already done 6, but then she meets the 7th one, and then she meets somebody else at a donut shop, and like she questions whether or not she wants to give up the last soul. I'm not really sure why, but this book is very queer, first of all, so that's already a plus for it. But somehow the lives of these 3 women, the main character, the violin player, and the donut shop owner, all intertwined somehow, and it turns into a like very sweet story of like friendship and love and identity and like a bunch of other things just rolled together into one delightful sounding novel. So it sounds like it's going to be a really good time, probably have some heartbreaking moments to it, and I can't wait for it. After that we've got Activation Degradation by Marina J. Lostetter. The very first sentence in the synopsis includes the words Murderbot Diaries, so like obviously I want to read this one. I'm still very much obsessed with Murderbot Diaries. It's just such a wonderful series, and if this book is being compared to that one, then I'm probably going to absolutely adore it. This one is going to be a standalone first contact sci-fi novel, which I don't think I've read any of so far, so it's going to be interesting for sure. And it follows a main character who is a sentient AI robot, and honestly I'm not really sure where we're gonna go from there, but I just really want to have more like sentient robot adventures and kind of see where things go. So this one I'm also planning on going into kind of blind. I know it has to do with the main character whose name is Unit 4, who was like built and stored in some storage unit, but the first time he wakes up he's in like some kind of crisis mode, so I think aliens are attacking wherever he's being stored, and then things go from there. And that's really all that I want to know about it. I don't want to know too much before I read this one, but I'm hoping it'll be just as delightful as the Murderbot Diaries is. Next up is the Ex Hex by Erin Sterling, which is a pseudonym for Rachel Hawkins, who wrote the Hex Hall series and the Royals series, I think it was called. But this one is a adult contemporary romance with a witchy twist to it. It follows our main character who is going through a really bad breakup, and she decides to put a hex on her ex, not thinking that it would cause too much damage because she doesn't have all the proper ingredients and things for her spell, so she thinks it'll just be some like minor inconveniences, and it turns out to be a lot more than that. And now she has to deal with the consequences of her actions and try and reverse the hex before things go horribly wrong. So it sounds fantastic, a very quirky kind of romance novel with a fun twist to it that I'm very much looking forward to. Again, it'll be a perfect book for the fall season, so hopefully I'll be able to get to it sometime this season. And I'm also just in love with this cover. It is so freaking cute. And then we've got Before We Disappear by Shaun Hutchinson. This one is being described as a queer ahistorical fantasy set during the 1909 Seattle, Alaska, Yukon Pacific Exposition, which I don't really know what that is, like at all. But it centers around 2 magicians who fall in love despite all the odds. The main character in this one is the assistant to this magician who is 100% a fake, but people don't know that, so when they're at this festival thing. I'm assuming that's what the exposition is. I really have no clue what it is, but I'm assuming it's where these magicians go. They meet somebody else who is also a magician but seems to actually be legit. So they're obviously rivals, but the assistant and the real magician end up falling in love, and they have to kind of beat the odds, and it sounds like it's going to be super cute. I love a good queer fantasy, we know this, and this cover is gorgeous too. Like, I think it's just so pretty, and I just can't wait for this one. It's a pretty long book. It's like over 500 pages. I'm not normally great with long books, so this one might take me a bit to get to, but the next time that I'm in the mood for a chunky fantasy novel, I think this will probably be the first one that I reach for. Dark Rise by C.S. Pacat is a novel that's set in a world where magic used to exist, but it has been long forgotten except by the stewards, who are the keeper of the knowledge, and they're the ones who keep the Dark King at bay. So in this book it follows a 16-year-old boy who is a dock worker, and he ends up having to go on the run from the men who killed his mother. And while he's on the run, he meets somebody who tells him that he is destined to be a steward. And so he is thrust into this world of magic that nobody knows even exists, and he has to help them fend off the Dark King. So this one sounds really interesting. It's by the author of the Fence graphic novel series, which I read the first one of, and it was pretty good. I just haven't gotten around to continuing it, but I know people love that one. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in this series, but it is going to be a series. And again, with the cover, like, gorgeous. Hello. Like, it sounds like a pretty typical fantasy plot line, but like, I'm not mad about that. I kind of love the whole like chosen one plot and like you're destined to save the world. It's a very tried and true trope, but I really enjoy it, so hopefully this one will be just as good as I'm hoping it's going to be. And then we've got Beasts of Prey by Ayana Gray, which rhymes really well. I wonder if that was intentional. This one follows two main characters. The first one is a indentured servant at the night zoo, where she has to care for these really dangerous magical creatures, and the other main character is the son of some decorated hero, and it's his destiny to become like his father and become one of these like elite warrior dudes. But on the night of his final rite of passage, the other main character accidentally releases like the most dangerous magical creature from the night zoo, and the two of them have to work together to try and get it back. For him, he has to capture this creature in order to prove himself that he is worthy of being one of these elite soldiers. But for her, she has a secret motivation that she wants to actually find the creature to sell it and be able to free herself and her family from the zoo and be able to go and live their lives not as indentured servants. So, you know, a fair reason, but these two have very different motivations for capturing this creature, and I think they'll probably fall in love along the way, so I'm looking forward to it. And again, cover, wow, gorgeous, here for it. And then last but not least is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, which I'm so excited for. This is the author of the Caraval trilogy, which I read a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I love the way that this author writes worlds, and like just the world building was incredible in Caraval. It was so whimsical and full of magic and so much beauty. So I'm hoping that this will be a kind of similar vibe in terms of the world building. Again, just to get it out there, cover, holy shit, it's incredible. The synopsis says that this one is a new series about love, curses, and the lengths that people will go to for happily ever after. So it's giving me some very fairy tale vibes, which, you know me, I love me a good fairy tale fantasy. This one is about a girl who grew up in a curiosity shop, being told all the myths and legends of their world, including the one about the Prince of Hearts and how dangerous he is and how bargains with him never go well. But she decides to do it anyways because she's a dumbass, I guess. But the love of her life is about to marry somebody else, and so she makes a bargain with the Prince of Hearts to stop the wedding. And of course, things go terribly wrong. So I don't know what else she was expecting, but here we are. So I think for this one, I'm definitely not going to feel bad for the main character because she literally got herself into the situation, but I am very much intrigued to see where it goes from here. I really hope that she falls in love with the Prince of Hearts, because like I would love that kind of storyline. So hopefully that's where it goes, but we shall see. I cannot wait for this one. I'm just in love with this author's writing style and the world building, so I'm expecting a very beautifully written story with so much tragedy and yearning and just, oh, it's going to be gorgeous. And those are all the books that I've got coming out in September. Quite a few this time. Let me know if you have any of these books on your TBR or any other ones that I didn't mention here. I would love to hear about even more books to add to my ever-growing TBR. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!